Go ahead.
No.
Sorry, Chelly didn't get the countdown. Can you restart? Sorry about that. I'll just type it in chat when you say go so he knows. Yep.
Alright, so stage order doesn't matter because there's no weaknesses from the bosses. There's two bosses in particular who have to be in a specific order, but that's the only technicality. Otherwise, you can just go with whatever you're comfortable with. Seek Day fight in this first stage here is a pretty difficult quick kill to execute. There's three different ways that you can DPS bosses. So Pamela has a combo slash where she does 3 slashes in a row. The third slash, in addition to shooting a projectile out that deals 1 damage, it also cuts through bosses' iframes and resets them, which deals 2 damage. So if you hit a boss that doesn't have iframes, the projectile will hit first for 1 damage, and then the third slash will reset iframes and hit for an additional 2 for a total of 3. Or if you just spam it, then the second slash will hit repeatedly for 2 damage. You can do it about twice per second if you spam it, or you can do it once every second for 3 damage. And then the slowest method that you would use for DPSing a boss is charge slashing. This fight uses all 3 of those techniques because you're taking damage at specific times. And EaB came very close to getting the quick kill there. Seek Day managed to freeze time just before, or he did his slash a little bit early, so he wasn't able to get the charge slash, so she managed to get her time freeze off. So you can see there how tight it is. He was just a few frames too early on that last hit. But that saves about, I think, 5 seconds if you get it. This next stage here, Schwer stage, is obviously a reference to the Mario franchise. This game has a lot of references to classic franchises, most notably Mega Man and Castlevania, but also like Mario and some other games like Ghouls and Ghosts. This boss is one of the biggest RNG bosses in the game, so the route that most runners do is they do Seek Day first to get that difficult quick kill out of the way, and then they do Schwer second to get RNG out of the way. As far as movement and execution goes, this is one of the easiest stages to do. Probably the easiest stage, actually. Every other stage has some pretty difficult movement that you have to get through. So this boss is like that one boss in Super Mario World, where there's three pipes that stuff will come out of. One of them will be Schwer, and 2 of them will be the dummies. Which one actually Schwer spawns from is random, so you kind of just gotta hope that she spawns next to you. And EaB was able to get the 2 cycle there. You don't want to DPS her as much as possible on the first phase because you'll dip her below desperation mode and she'll do an additional attack where she lowers a giant Zeppy from the ceiling. So the second cycle ends up being pretty tight and you pretty much need her to spawn adjacent to you to pull it off. This next stage doll is here. This has some pretty cool movement in it. It's a pretty cool climb here. Here's a really angry tree dude from Kirby. I believe there's a risk of soft locking in the Schwer fight. There's a couple of fights in this game where you risk soft locking. I think like Schwer and the Refractia twins, I think, and Iris 2 and that chick with the big hammer. So here, forget this boss's name, I think Dallas? She's got some RNG. You want her to kind of like fall out of the tree. I don't know if it's supposed to be an attack or something, but you're able to get some iframe resets on her if she does that. Otherwise, you just gotta use charge slashes. The next stage that EAB is doing here is Tri-Air stage. This has a pretty neat skip in it. The way terrain works in this game is it doesn't actually have collision unless it's on the camera. So he's going to be doing a bit of camera manipulation here to abuse how the camera works so he can get ahead of it. And he's going to zip through the ceiling here, and I think that saves about 5 seconds. Basically, like, he does a full jump up at the top there so he can set up his y-axis position so that he's able to move right underneath the ceiling once he gets to the bottom of that big drop there, so that he can get ahead of the camera before it starts to move right. And that's how he's able to set up that glitch. So this is a fight that has no RNG. Basically, I kind of like to divide the fights in this game up into 2 different categories. There's the no RNG fights that have some sort of precise quick kill where you want to maximize your DPS with the iframe resets as much as possible, or use the triple slash as soon as iframes expire to get 3 damage instead of 2 when that's applicable, when you can't get an additional combo slash in, which that's one of those fights. It does have a pretty precise quick kill to eliminate a slash at the end of the fight there. And then there's other fights like the Zorn fight here, which is pure RNG, where you have to basically be able to react quickly to the boss's patterns to know when you can go into melee range to spam triples for more DPS, or when you have to be able to back out and do charge slashes. There's a pretty difficult jump at the end of this stage that I'm assuming EAB isn't going to go for. No one really does it in RTA because it's extremely precise, and if you miss it, you die. It takes about 5 seconds, I think. You don't really want to like move this stage early on in the run and grind for it, because then you'd have to move like the Seek Day stage later, and that's another really difficult strat that saves about the same amount of time. And plus, this is the one stage, along with Tri-Air stage, that has a particular order that you need to do them in. Tri-Air and Zorn, depending on which one is still alive, will help the other out in their fight, and it's faster to have Zorn show up in Tri-Air's fight than vice versa, because Zorn will go immune if Tri-Air helps out in her fight. So the Luce stage, this is another stage with a relatively difficult skip in it. There's a crusher on the last screen of the stage, and in order to get the fastest cycle on the crusher, you want to destroy 2 rows of blocks that are blocking the crusher with your projectile slash, and you have to do that by firing them at a specific time while you're waiting on the crusher as it's oscillating up and down. Dude, I don't know how to pronounce any of these bosses' names. And if you mistime your slashes and jumps, you can get stuck with... Okay. That's unfortunate. You can end up getting stuck, not being able to dash because there's a brick in front of you that you didn't expect to be there. It's like EaB is having a little bit of trouble with the birds there. Uh-oh. This is an interesting room because if you just play it safe, it's actually pretty easy. But if you try to go just a little bit too fast, you can make it much harder. So EaB didn't feel very confident going for the crusher skip at the end there. It's a pretty difficult trick to learn how to do. And even when you're practiced and good at it, it's still a trick that's going to catch you off guard a couple times. So luckily Pamela here, this is a little bit of an RNG fight here at the end, because you can deal more DPS if you have platforms to stand on next to Luce when she's floating in the middle there, but it doesn't waste too much time to be doing charge slashes there, unlike Freudia where that RNG there is pretty much a reset.
We have another donation to read. LV Creed donated a huge total of $250. He says, "Let's get our boys to AGDQ. We don't have much to go now, so let's finish strong. Thanks for holding this event. It has been really fun. Oh, I'm taking the lead character spot, so yeah, all this money is going to Chrono's name being Creed. What a guy. Thank you, Creed."
Dude, nice Creed. So the Libe fight here is actually, I would say, the easiest fight to do moderately well, but the most difficult fight to do perfectly. You have to get the positions just right as you're following her along with your dashes and doing the triple slashes. And you need to get the timing just right to get the 3 damage in with the projectile. So we have Grola's stage here now. This is obviously a reference to the... whatever that game is called. Ghosts and Goblins, or Ghouls and Ghosts, or something. This is a pretty annoying stage because the fastest way to DPS the boss here involves spamming triple slashes. So if you get small health drops later on, you saw it just happen to EaB there, they'll eat your inputs and then you'll just bonk whatever's in front of you, and it's pretty annoying, but at least he's at full HP now. The Grola fight's a pretty cool fight. Basically, you want to be close enough to her to be able to get your charge slashes off, but but you want to be far enough away that you can dodge her blade beams, so it's a pretty tough middle ground to find. When she's doing that dash across the room, she's actually guarding, so you're dealing less damage to her when she does that. Also, something I forgot to mention, if you do a slash and you're in the middle of the screen, you skip the like jump animation, which saves a little bit of time.
Okay, we are ridiculously close to our donation goal here. 1 cent away. Oh, it just got pushed over at 4,000. Thank you so much to all who donated to make this possible. We have met our goal. Chrissy and Cassio will be going to AGDQ 2018.
Dude, nice.
Great job, everyone. Just a few donations to read here. Chelney donated $136.54. That was for all the subs and bits pinned this month. He says, thanks to all who subbed and donated bits to me this past month. Orsid got us at $39.99.99 with $35.97. Says there's a few naming incentives left, but I've memed enough this weekend. Thanks all, you guys are the best. And Zeto Negi put us over the top with the 567 with the donation comment 69.69. He didn't know he got sniped by Orsa there though. So thank you everybody.
So here in the first fortress stages, you see EAB got the easy maze skip there. Easy every time is Pamela. Freudia has a pretty difficult way to skip that maze since she can't do wall jumps, but it's pretty trivially easy as Pamela. This is one of the more difficult fights in the game. If you get behind her, like in terms of the rhythm of your attacks, it's pretty easy to let the fight just snowball out of control, but EAB did a really good job of it. These 4 stages right here in this first fortress are pretty much the 4 hardest stages in the speed run. All of them have lots of instant death everywhere and difficult boss fights. Well, 3 of them are difficult boss fights. The Refractia Twins, the boss in this stage, has one of the hardest quick kills in the game. There's also a glitch that EAB did right there. If you dash, he also did it on the Libea fight, if you dash through a door and it's an elevated door going into the boss fight, you actually have control when you're not supposed to. Normally you jump into the door for a faster door transition, but for these 2 fights specifically, and I think one more later, you dash through to get the control before the fight so you can start closer to the boss. Yeah, and I actually didn't know there was a wall there either. So here's the Sriracha stage. Definitely the stage with the spiciest boss in RKSF. There's this annoying big net guy in the background. If you're touching the ground when he stomps like that, you get put in a really long knockback animation and stuff can just completely own you when you're in that animation. Like, blocks can slide on you and crush you. You can also, like, fall into spikes and die. It's pretty miserable. The way these blocks spawn is they spawn like based on your camera, so EaB did a pretty risky jump there to try and get 5 blocks to spawn at once so he could not have to wait for the second set of blocks. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get all 5 of them. But it is very risky, because if you go too far out, you'll just fall in the spikes and die. This is another difficult fight. EaB's damage boosting into the boss to mitigate the RNG of... Oh wow, he got the quick kill. That's a really hard quick kill to get. And a very risky quick kill, because it gives you the possibility of soft locking, or not soft locking, but hard locking. The game just, like, crashes. Alright, and this is Pamela's stage. We're not going to be fighting Pamela on this stage because we are Pamela, so we're going to get a cameo appearance from some other boss instead. This stage has the Castlevania pendulums in it. There's a really big one at the end of the stage, or like there's a jump off it where it's moving towards you and you have to catch it. Like, looks like that last pendulum there spawns at the beginning of the room, so you need perfect movement basically to get the jump as it's swinging towards you. So now we fight Simon Belmont. This guy's actually, I think, Libe Zoni-sama, and he's the worst boss in the game in terms of, like, he just sucks. Like, you just move behind him and then he does some 10-second long attack and has no idea what he's doing, and then he eats some T-bone steak to regain his HP. It's actually impossible to one-cycle him by killing him before he eats the meat, even for a task, I think. So now we're on the Iris Fortress. These next 2 stages are a little bit easier than the 4 that EaB just did, but they're still pretty difficult. There's lots of lasers, lots of pitfalls, lots of instant death everywhere. So EaB's going to do a damage boost here so he can go through one of the lasers. This is a pretty tight trick to do, and he got through it. Oh, and he even got the Yoku block skip at the end there. So this next boss is the 3rd boss that you're going to see that dash through the door to regain control. This boss is like some sort of mix between Dracula and Velgarder Sigma from Mega Man X. This fight has some RNG to it. The hands deal a bit of damage, also the fire does as well. EaB is being safe and using an E-tank. The boss can actually just completely own you. I think if you get hit by 2 hands in a fire like that, you'd normally be left with 1 HP after the laser generator damage boost. earlier in the stage, but definitely worth playing safe. EAB's picked up a couple extra E-tanks along the way anyway. So the second Iris Fortress stage here, when the blue fireballs ignite this like red liquid or whatever, it becomes instant kill. So you gotta make sure you get out of it before that happens. And these spikes underwater can be pretty annoying because you can't see them until you're right next to them. So this next boss coming up ahead, this is like the Yellow Devil or Dark Devil of this game. And just recently, EAB figured out a really difficult strat to skip a cycle on this boss, which I forget how much time a cycle skip saves, but it has to be like 10 or 15 seconds. Basically, it's extremely tight, but if you do a charge slash, an uncharged slash, into another charge slash, you can actually get 5 damage in. And it looks like EAB missed that slash, so we still got the normal 4 damage there. You're allowed to make a couple mistakes in this and not get an extra cycle than you would have not going for the cycle skip. So there, EAB got 3 damage. He should still be fine, as long as he doesn't go for any more 5 damages and miss it, but what used to be a trivially easy fight here now has a one of the most difficult quick kills in the game. And of course, since Pamela can wall jump, she can just cheese this fight by staying completely away from the little blobs as they're going across the screen. I don't know how many frames of leniency you have to get the 5 damage. In one cycle, but it can't be many. So EAB just got like an extra slash at the end there, going for the cycle skip, which wastes a second, but the risk versus reward, considering how much you can save, it's definitely worth going for. So now we have the boss rush. The boss rush is one of the coolest stages in this run, since I think the boss fights are pretty interesting for Pamela. The Trier fight here is a little bit different than the first time, since Zorn isn't going to help her. It's actually makes it a little bit of a harder fight, because you can get a different attack at the end if you don't do it correctly, where she like summons all these weird things at you. But EAB managed to avoid it. He also killed her on the left side of the room, so he could get the health back from the damage boost that he did earlier in the stage, which is pretty nice. This stage is this boss is another one that changes a little bit in the refights, just because there's walls on each side of the screen, so you have a little bit less room when you're up against the wall there to do the slashes. Also, the Seek Day fight changes because you can't jump into the fight. Well, you can, but it's frame perfect. So you don't really want to do the quick kill here, and it costs a lot of health to do. I mean, optimally you would still want to do it, a task would do it, but for RTA that hasn't really become a thing yet. Those are some pretty decent platforms on loose day. The Grola fight here is exactly the same as the first fight, only you want to avoid damage where you would normally not care and just take it. Swear fight, once again, is exactly the same. Which is a bit unfortunate to have 5 seconds of RNG this late in the run, but I would say like about 2/3 of the time you get, or over 2/3 actually, you get RNG that allows you to get the Schwer quick kill, which EaB got both in this run. Dallas here, she can do 2 attacks at the start. She can either throw shurikens or she can try to like ram right into you. EaB got double rams and you want double shurikens, so he got the worst pattern possible. But at least he got one, her falling out of the tree and landing on her butt there, so it almost made up for it, kind of. And the Zorn fight is exactly the same, just you want to avoid damage if you might have felt like taking it before. So now you fight the Iris Machine again, or I say it again, you fight a version of the Iris Machine in the first RKS game. This one is a bit harder in my opinion as far as the Sword Girl fights go. EaB missed a slash there, so he's going to have to wait for the laser at the end. The quick kill on the second phase here is another one of the most difficult quick kills in the game. You're going to see him using the triple slash every second to deal 3 damage instead of 2 here. So because he can't just stand there and triple because he has to dodge the pink balls that are coming down. You can actually kill Iris before she does that last jump at the end. EaB was able to kill her before she landed from the jump, so that was still a pretty good fight, aside from having to use the E-Tank. Cross-tank, sorry, not E-Tank. So, plot twist. You end up fighting Tia here, the protagonist of the first game. This is a really cool fight. This is pretty much every Pamela runner's favorite fight, the Tia and Iris fight. Tia has a lot of different attacks, but she has tells for each attack that she's going to do, so the fight's all about reacting to which attack she's doing and being able to dodge them accordingly, while still maximizing your DPS. EaB did not get a low Iris spawn there, unfortunately. If he did, he would have been able to use triple slashes and abuse the iframe resets to do more damage, so he's going to end up getting another pattern after this one. He gets a high spawn here. So now he's going to go into the blue zone a second time and he has to dodge some lightning. And that lightning does an absurd amount of damage. So time is going to come up when the HP bar disappears and the cutscene starts. I'm not exactly sure when that is. Alright, time. So yeah, that was RKSF Pamela. That was a really nice run from EAB. I think, except for the birds in and the Crusher in Loose Stay stage, I think that was deathless aside from that. So this is a really hard game to not die in, and there's pretty much high probability run killers on every stage except for a few of them. So that was a really good run. Yeah, dude, the birds.